tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nicole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, everyone. It's Friday, October 14th. Today is National Real Sugar Day, not the fake shit. World Standards Day, National Dessert Day, and Be Bald and Be Free Day. Thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms, especially YouTube. We're live every Monday through Friday on YouTube and audio only on Clubhouse. And if you are joining us via Clubhouse, you can also participate in the show by raising your hand if you have a brief comment on the story most recently presented. But without further ado, let's pay a quick bill so we can get right back into the news.
At True Classic OG, we live by one motto: stay true. We stay true to our legacy cut of True OG that's always fresh, piney, gassy, and delicious. We represent the spirit, hustle, and diversity of our great city of angels. And we stay true to the spirit of this plant, doing everything in-house to ensure that you get the highest quality and consistency with every batch. And that's what's made us LA's favorite OG. True Classic OG. Stay true, Los Angeles.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Today, that's right. You know what it is. We're going to start off with the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte, who is permanently in the Babysitters Club diaries lately because he was backpedaling too much on safe banking and tripped over CRT and now has a serious injury. That's right. It is the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte.
Thank you for yet another phenomenal intro, Jason. Just dropping bars on us. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us yet again on this beautiful Friday morning. Today, my headlines from High Times by Patrick Marvellis. Spliff vape. New tech allows cannabis and nicotine to be vaped simultaneously. Spliff vapes. America's response to the woke liberals of California hating on cannabums. An Arizona company's new patent just might have changed the game forever by building what's being called the first real-life electronic spliff. Legend has it, spliffs were originally unholy hybrid of offspring in ancient Egypt, tobacco, and cannabis gods. The October surprise from the feast of Saturnalia. It's pre-road times, and the Maury show obviously wasn't a thing yet, so infant Thor was banished to Earth's colder regions as a compromise between Vishnu and Bas. You see, the ancient spirit realm society frowned upon safe harboring bastard deities in paradise, making the only viable path to survival Nordic retreat, and where he renamed himself the Spliff, also known to many as the Euro cigarette. YouTube's an excellent alternative to alternative education. That's where I got all that information. Anyways, global regulatory hurdles currently nix mixing tobacco and cannabis products, but pushing back Curaleaf's Boris Johnson and Big Tobacco's industry takeover at least a couple years. So people have avoided mixing cannabis oil and nicotine vape juice for technical reasons too. Per the article, cannabis is oil-based and nicotine juice is water-based, which means they don't mix. Xtax, an Arizona-based cannabis technology and extraction company, is betting big on selling the DIY method to accelerate the arrival to the end of times with their new stackable vape tech. Co-CEO Rick Avila told High Times, every cartridge sold comes with a removable mouthpiece, allowing consumers to either use the cart as a stack with the chambers on top of each other and hit them at the same damn time. You can stack as many your battery will allow, Avila said, before teasing future proprietary battery tech, automatically detecting how the carts distribute the energy. Avila swears tobacco wasn't in mind when creating hardware, arguing it allows consumers to mix CBD, B12, and other wellness-tied vapables with their weed on their own time. You know, it's like keeping guns, bullets, and blanks in the same dark room, all fun and games until you meet Alec Baldwin. My thoughts? It's an obvious play for X-Tac to future-proof their product and get a head start on competition before federal legalization or rescheduling drops, potentially putting cannabis in the same lane as cigarettes and alcohol. But at the end of the article, it does point out the FDA has been known to recall products, issue fines, or worse, for companies selling impure vape juice or misleading information on their labels. So maybe we'll never see this thing hit the shelves outside of a few select Arizona dispensaries that apparently believe freedom still exists. Either way, I wouldn't be surprised if this thing somehow hit the trap market outside of AZ before ending up on the shelves of head shops and bodegas worldwide. Interested in hearing everybody else's thoughts on this one. My name is Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street. This is High at 9 News. What do you say, Jason? You down for a little bit of electronic spliff action?
Are they gonna call this the crossfade vape?
I don't see why not.
I mean, or you know what they really should do? They should just reach out to Backwoods and have them sponsor them.
I mean, yeah. I actually like spliffs. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's like high quality tobacco, I actually do like a good tobacco cannabis mix. But I could definitely see this product if it ever hits shelves outside of Arizona. I could see it bootlegged damn near immediately if it's not already.
So Nicole, so in Arizona, you're allowed to still sell tobacco products where you're allowed to sell marijuana products?
They're not selling the tobacco
just the
products.
hardware.
What they're doing is they're selling the first piece on the vape has a mouthpiece, and inside of the mouthpiece is a 510 internal thread. And so what you can do is you can hit it like a mouthpiece, or you can take another vape tank that has a 510 thread and screw it right into that next piece. And then you're hitting the tobacco piece. The first piece on the chamber directive is the cannabis one that plugs directly into your battery. So the first chamber rip, you would buy just a battery and just a cannabis vape. You put it together, you rip it. You're like, oh, this isn't good enough for me. You then go to the tobacco vape store, get another one that has the 510 threading, and you screw it right in. So it is not being sold at the same place. It is not being sold, and it is not being sold side by side. It's not being sold suggestively. Oh, get this. It's saying you can stack them. You can stack them on themselves. So the theory and the idea is
up to 6.
Yeah, up to what your battery will take. And that's why they even tease that statement, because they're saying battery makers, those vape people like to do the cloud shows and all this fucking fuck shit where they're like, how big can I make my cloud? So now you can put as many as so like now
they still do that shit? They still have like the cloud company?
Yeah. They have at vape stores, they have a lot of vape stores have walls on them that'll have like the cloud wall, and they'll like outline how big the biggest cloud was. It's like fucking insane. But
yeah, Choo-Choo's little brother is like a world-renowned vape person. Yeah, he makes all kinds of little.
Yeah, and art totally. They have like style, like smoke rings. Yeah. If you can blow a ring in a ring in a ring in a ring. Yeah. And so my point to that is that like that culture, I tell everyone when we talk about vapes, everyone's like, fake terps, blah, blah. I'm like, look how much money is being spent on the e-cig. That culture is it's insane. Like we don't even understand like this weird fucking niche obsessive culture in any way, like the e-cig world. Like it's nuts. It's fucking nuts. And so
I thought it was mostly killed off, because remember when vapes first came out, it was everywhere, and it just went underground.
They did that. They pushed the advertisement away, because Rico, we got to see it at first because it wasn't against the law to advertise. Right. Now the advertisements have been pushed back. So now they're like, kind of underground vibes, which made it cooler, made it cooler.
And can I say that I'm not the biggest fan of this? While I see it as, maybe a flavor profile that enthusiasts might be looking for, I don't think it helps the argument at all. That vape is not as bad as you think. That vape could actually be a healthier mode. I know in Europe.
It's not, though.
Well, it's something that is more controlled, and especially for patients, a lot of patients find it to be more reliable. And if you're looking at the European markets, they look at it as a cessation device for tobacco, for getting off smoking. And they're even given insurance breaks. If you can say that I'm vaping to stop smoking, they appreciate that, and they will give you money. So vape is huge in Europe, not as much over here when it comes to at least being accepted. And so I think this would hurt the vape market.
They sell flavors over there in Europe too?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
They have no problem with flavors because a lot of smokers are like, I'd much rather taste cherry than I want to taste menthol or tobacco. That's the shit I was addicted to.
But the reality is we've done almost no research on the actual hardware responses and how like these plastics and these metals are. And so that's the reason why when people are like, oh, harm reduction, I'm like, yeah, cool. Your lungs aren't fucked up, but that hole that's in your brain from the metal and the plastic that you've been melting. Cool. I'm glad your lungs are good. I'm glad.
I think you'll be hard pressed to find any doctor who will suggest that inhaling something into your lungs is good for you.
Yeah. You're 100% right about that, Gretchen.
100%.
Yeah.
But when you look at the stuff that's not in the cigarettes that they're able to ingest, they do see that as a better alternative.
I'm surprised doctors condone breathing. I'm just saying.
I know.
No, they don't. They don't. They're like, hold your breath, bro. It's better for you.
This is why they told us to wear those masks for 2 years, bro.
They don't like
I never listened to none of that shit.
Oh, bro,
I never listened to
none
of that shit. Yeah, fuck all that. Yeah,
all right.
I have a freedom face, big freedom face.
The freedom face, and
Arizona never had a mask mandate.
The need to want to mask and silence people is a great segue for us to speak about Mr. Jason Beck. Jason Beck is the longest running retailer in the history of regulated cannabis, the member of whatever political party might piss you off the most, and our very own Kaiser Brose, also known as the Highest Republican, who recently received his very own website, highestrepublican.com. Check it out. Jason Beck, what do you have for us today?
Oh, yeah. Check it out, highestrepublican.com. And that's how you know that I am, because I own the internet domain, so that therefore there can be no others. But nonetheless, hope everyone is having an amazing Friday. Going to be a great weekend, but not for these people, because tens of thousands of plants were seized and 20 arrests made in the latest marijuana raid in Oklahoma. Giddy up, little doggies. The Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics said its investigation into illegal marijuana operations is continuing to make strides across the state. Investigators found thousands of black market plants over the past few weeks. Spokesperson Mark Woodward said this is just the tip of the iceberg in illegal grow busts. The seeds for black market organizations were planted years ago. Close to 200 farms in Oklahoma that were either shut down or served warrants at Woodward said, we've made several hundreds of arrests, but we easily have well over 1,000 other farms that we are investigating currently. The illegal grows, Woodward said, siphon money from the state. Some of these people have been in business for years, so you're seeing billions with a B, he says. Billions of dollars worth of marijuana coming out of Oklahoma. It's the most recent push. In the most recent push, OBN searched 10 grow operations in 8 counties over the last 2 weeks. Investigators seized 79,157 plants, 3,139 pounds of processed weed, 16 guns, and made 20 arrests. Woodward also said the owners aren't farmers. Instead, they're considered ghost owners, who are people with an Oklahoma address in order to get a license. The majority owner, who owns 75% of the operation, must live in Oklahoma. Plenty of evidence that shows these people have no day-to-day knowledge of these farms. They have no financial interest in it, Woodward said. They were simply approached and agreed to put their name on a license for a fee. Suddenly, they're not just on 1 or 2 or 5, but they might be on well over 200 licenses, he says. Woodward said they often traffic in their workers and hurt the communities where growing is taking place. We're finding all kinds of contrabands and pesticides on these lands, and they are being purchased for 4 times what they're worth. So it's driving up property values, Woodward said. Woodward said the OBN continues to prune the state's medical marijuana industry, and he says these criminal organizations are laundering millions of dollars worldwide, and they're doing it all while hiding behind a medical marijuana license and appearing to be legitimate on the surface, Woodward said. We've started putting really every license, every owner, and really every name under a microscope. The people OBN arrested could face a slew of complaints that may include drug trafficking, aggravated manufacturing, unlawful cultivation, and acquiring proceeds from drug activity. Well, I'll tell you what, the Oklahoma is definitely the wild, wild west with these cowboys running around town. What do you guys think? This is Jason Beck reporting for High at 9 News. What do you think,
Not
Rico?
surprising. I mean, Oklahoma's been running rampant, so.
Yep.
Everything ain't okay and okay, man. It ain't.
You think
okay
they set it up like
man.
this to help it implode on itself?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
So I know a couple people who recently got Tax Act violations for their Oklahoma packs that were non-regulated. And so they're literally Al Caponeing people in Oklahoma right now when they catch you and they're getting you on tax evasion, which I think is really fun and interesting and a very easy way to,
boy. Oklahoma.
Because it's like the tax stamp that you're supposed to have, or the tax regulation, the tax license that you're supposed to have. So they just basically get you on not having the correct tax.
I know I saw a buddy's post on social media the other day, and they live in Oklahoma, and they on their post it said, "Man, my friend just hit me up, and he hasn't even sold his weed from last year, and is asking me to come help trim his weed from this year." Like, get the hell out of here, bro. Sell your weed. Get some money. Don't grow weed if you can't sell your weed, bro.
Send it to Texas.
No,
I mean,
yes, send it to Stone.
No, sir. No.
Yeah.
Stone doesn't even want Oklahoma's booth packs. Come on.
I don't want that.
Come on, Stone.
Hey, listen.
It's probably better than Delta 8.
I don't smoke that either. I still have to go do an Oklahoma episode, so I don't want to say anything bad about anybody in Oklahoma. I look forward to checking out the market there. However, no, don't send that to Texas.
Hold on. What do you think?
The genetics are from California, but they're grown in Oklahoma. Does it make it a better end product, Jason?
No, that's like having a Cuban seed and growing it in fucking Canada.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you grow anything.
grow your
Canada,
tobacco wherever you want. Grow your Cuban tobacco wherever you want. It's not in Cuba. Like, nah, that's some fucking beasters.
Exactly.
Do they make any reference to cartels or anyone pushing this stuff?
There was just that little minor reference when they talked about how workers are treated. I think that was kind of a cartel reference in there, but they made no other reference other than that could be construed in that manner. But I am really interested because he said that they're investigating thousands of people. So I'm wondering, what do you think is this department's budget to really go after and enforce people?
I just Googled Oklahoma cannabis busts. April 26th, Oklahoma, 54,000 plants seized. June 14th, 71 pounds and 27,000 plants seized. April 8th, 6,000 pounds seized. May 5th, and these are all different numbers and all different articles. So like, I was just like, Oklahoma bust. And so this is a part of and this was all this year. And so that was 6 that I've read, and it's the 10th month of the year. So they've done at least one multi-1,000-pound bust almost every month this year in Oklahoma. And I mean, that's just like the tip of the iceberg.
So you think the one on the Indian reservation was a mistake? They're just like going overboard? Trying to reach their quota?
Who are they saying is doing the bust? Is this all state police?
Yeah,
the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics says a multi-agency. So they've got a few different agencies, and the tax agency is the one that always shows up. That's the one that's really easy for them to get you on, is just being like, here's your tax receipt. Like, you fucking owe us millions of dollars, because they basically tax you on everything you didn't pay taxes on. And then they do like an assumptive rate. They do an assumptive rate like fucking the Edison bill does, where they're like, when they find out you're stealing power, they backdate you till they think that you fucking were stealing. The OB.
Who steals power?
I think Omar has something to say on this. Omar, do you have something to say on this topic?
Yes, they're not reporting all the money that was taken.
Oh, yeah.
Usually that's what fuels the asset forfeitures. Is what fuels this type of drug enforcement, and it's addictive for law enforcement to go after the money. They can't really sell the marijuana that they seize, obviously. So that's not really going to be able to fuel their enforcement activities. But it's curious that they're not reporting all the cash they took.
Why can't
they're stealing it?
Why can't they?
That's what I was going to say. They're taking it,
Why can't
Omar.
they sell
They're
it?
fucking taking it.
I think they can sell it, Omar. I'll tell you what. I
Well,
got
maybe
rated.
they do sell it on their own, secondary markets that they create.
They just sell it back to the dispensary.
I got raided one time by the DEA. Okay, and I'll tell you what. Right after that, a couple days later, there was some guy that came in and sold me some weed, and I felt and I looked at it and I was like, "This is my fucking weed. This is weed that fucking got taken from here." And I fucking bought the pound back, couple pounds, whatever, maybe 5 pounds of it back, and after that, cashed him out and never saw this dude again. I'm 100% convinced that he was a DEA agent.
Omar, that is so weird. I
Black.
just opened every one of those links that I said. Not one of them reports how much money was there. It just reports the value of the weed.
Right.
That's weird. That's
because
fucking real
obviously
weird.
people are.
Are they?
There's for sure money.
Are they raiding farms or
These
dispensaries?
were farms. They all have plants involved. Pounds and plants. I mean, it's not necessarily that they weren't involved with the dispensary, but all the ones that I listed, they were all like thousands of plants and then like pounds. And
Usually,
and the one, remember the one that I said they were like $401?
Yeah. Like, usually the cops would wait until the marijuana was all grown up and sold because they would rather seize money than plants. Plants are too much work. They would rather take the money. So I find this rather curious.
Yeah, and they're almost all outdoor farms or greenhouse farms, and it's in Oklahoma, and they've been doing it all year. So it would almost be impossible unless there were some people that actually understood the like mixed light thing well, which nobody really knows how to grow weed in Oklahoma. So I'm going to say that's probably not possible. But the idea that they were pulling plants in April, they weren't even conscious enough to think, let's wait for the money. They were just like, chop these fucking fuckers down because it was April. I mean, I can imagine how small the plants were when they fucking took thousands of them in April.
Yeah, but they've been at it for a while. I think they've been at it for several seasons, to be fair. And these cops, especially the drug cops, they're all about the money. Follow the money. They're trained to follow the money. And so it's very telling that they're not reporting the money seizures, the monetary seizures.
All of a sudden, the cops are all driving Lambos. You're like, what?
Well, that's why I asked the question: is how much do you think this is budgeted in this department to be having thousands of cases that they're investigating?
Let's see.
Depends on how much money they're bringing in, I guess, right? No.
How much money do you think? How much money do you think they're spending, Omar? From a legal perspective, I would really love to know what you think. How much their budget is?
Like each investigation, that involves like multiple.
Exactly.
At least $100,000.
At least $100,000.
$100,000. And this is in a state where investments in education are totally impacted by their limited budget. So they're literally taking education away from the children to spend it on stupid cannabis enforcement.
Stupid.
What about the children?
Effectively, the Bureau gets $35.9 million a quarter.
A quarter?
Yeah.
$35 million a quarter.
That seems normal.
So that's just under $150 million a year.
For the Bureau.
They got to prop up the illicit market. That keeps the prices nice and high.
Yeah, man. We got to keep them prices high, baby. Keep the trap alive.
Yes.
My cup today, higher than gas prices.
That's right. That's right. Too bad weed isn't more expensive than gas right now.
I don't even drive no more. It ain't because I ain't got no legs.
That's because you got tripped up over CRT, you guys.
Yes, I
Is it
did.
your driving leg?
Yeah.
It's my left leg's fucked up. I still put the pedal to the floor, baby. You know how I get down. So let's keep this movie rocking. As a felon, the woman formerly known as Jail Google dedicated her life to paying the knowledge forward that she learned in a cold Colorado jail cell, because she never wants you to end up in the same place. And she's now a Long Beach-based agriculture, efficiency, and compliance expert and a self-described general data bitch. Coming to the stage next, the one and only Nicole West. What you got for us today? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, everybody. I hope everyone is getting ready for a beautiful weekend. My headline today is actually coming out of the Inquirer.net. And I think it's a little bit funny because it turns out that every country with politicians have entitled children who think that they're above the law. We'll call this person the Philippines' much cooler, much less sketchy Hunter Biden. When the Department of Justice chief's son was arrested for a $1 million marijuana bust. The Department of Justice from the Philippines, the anti-drug operatives have arrested the eldest son of the Justice Secretary, Jesus Crispin Boyan Remula, for possession of over $1 million worth of high-grade marijuana, or Kush, in Las Piñas City, according to the report on Thursday by the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency, or the PDEA. Juanito Jose Diaz Remula III was arrested by agents from the PDEA and the Nihoy Acoy International Airport Inter-Drug Agency task group after he received a parcel containing about 1 kilo of Kush on Tuesday at the house in his BF Resort Village. Rumors about the arrest in a drug bust of a relative of high government official first appeared in the social media on Wednesday. The PA won't intervene. In the handwritten statement released by the Department of Justice around 6 p.m. on Thursday, the Justice Secretary said that he would not intervene nor influence the outcome of his son's case. In any case, the charges that were filed against his 38-year-old son go into effect as of this morning. And he also thanked the PDEA for doing their job without fear of favor. We all know about the unconditional love, but at 38 years old, he will have to face his punishment as a fully emancipated child. I have to abide by the oath of the office I took when I assumed this position, he said in his statement. He is now on a flight back to Geneva, Switzerland, where he will attend the United Nations Human Rights Council meeting, where he defended the Duarte administration's anti-drug war and the government's human rights records. The Justice Chief said that it is a very difficult time for him and his family, but nothing compared to those so many Filipinos are going through now. I will respect the justice system, and I wish my son a quick path to redemption, he said. The PDEA said that the arrest of Remula was a part of a controlled delivery operation of illegal drugs under the regulations set by the Dangerous Drug Board, or the DDB. The operation allows for unlawful or suspected consignment of any dangerous drugs or controlled precursors and essential chemicals, equipment, or paraphernalia to enter or leave the country under supervision of an authorized officer, according to the DDB. The intention of this kind of operation is to gather evidence to identify any person involved in dangerous drug-related offenses or to help the prosecution of a drug case. The PDEA reported that the investigation found the parcel came from a certain Benjamin Huffman of 1524 Hornburg Street in San Diego, California. Holy shit. This indicated, indicated consignee was certain Juanito Remula at an address inside the BF Resort Village. It's not the registered address of the BF homes in the city of the Justice Secretary's son, who was arrested there when the packets containing the illegal drugs. The 2 packets seized from him contained Kush weighing 937 grams. I thought that was a funny number. Street value of 1,308,000 pesos. So he was booked with the inquest before the Las Piñas City Prosecutor's Office on Thursday afternoon. He's under the custody of the PDEA in the headquarters and currently will be awaiting for his arraignment. While he and the family, his oath is to the governor as a public servant and paramount above all of the alleged transgressions, he says in a statement on Thursday. The governor also warned other family members not to influence the prosecution. We will not tolerate an abuse of power in any way, he says. He said the family was not informed about the operation by the PDEA, and they were correct in doing so. According to him, the family, especially his 87-year-old mother, was devastated by what happened, and he thanked those that expressed their concern. So apparently they're calling this a heavy sedative because it's a Kush, which I think is funny the way that they're portraying this in the news in the Philippines. But I did want to make sure that I understood because I wasn't 100% what the regulations were in the Philippines. So currently the sale, trade, distribution of marijuana is a maximum punishment of a fine of 10 million pesos or $180,000 and life imprisonment. That is the current crime for cannabis sale or distribution. So I'm super curious to see how this actually shakes out, if there is favoritism. And like I said, this is just the much cooler, much less sketchy Hunter Biden. Very interested to see what everyone on the stage has to say. And I'm Nicole Eskin. Hi.
I was so going to say, is this the Hunter Biden of the Philippines, Nicole? So I'm so glad that you did it for me.
It's
Filipino
cooler,
Hunter
bro.
Biden.
He's way cooler than Hunter Biden. It was weed. He brought in fucking packs of some OG from San Diego. This guy's rad.
This guy's fucking
We're talking
trap-tastic
about-
right here.
We're talking about the Philippines here. This Duterte's country, and they're like super duper prohibitionist and everything. I would not be surprised if it was some low grade bullshit that he brought over there, some fucking Delta 8, and they called it Kush.
No, I'm willing. I'd
go to
put money
San
that it's
Diego.
probably a bunch of outdoor weed that you get for
No,
like
bro, if you go to San
$100, $200 a
Diego.
pee.
They sell
You know what I mean?
Delta 8 in San Diego.
Yeah.
Where'd you get it from?
No, bro.
The gas
This guy
station.
has money. This guy has money. He got good weed.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. He got it shipped from America. Nah, bro. It went to he lives on a resort. It came in a 2-pound increment.
Sounds like my kind of guy.
Like this is 2 pounds. Again. Remember that basketball player that he had like a pound or two? I'm like, this was his personal stash. Same thing for this dude. He was not distributing 2 pounds as the fucking Department of Justice's son. They're wealthy. They don't need that. That was his head stash, bro. He wanted some fucking headies.
He wanted some headies. He had to tip all the resort people.
Yeah, I just gotta give a big shout out to the DOJ chief over there. And in this picture, that fucking shirt is crispy.
Super
Fresh with the embroidered flower on the lapel. It's fucking dope, man.
Oh yeah. We're gonna go to a commercial. That was a great story, Nicole. Thank you so much for that Filipino Hunter Biden story. Well, oh yeah, flying into LAX and you want to taste some of the best weed in the world? Then stop by LAXCC, the closest dispensary to LAX, located at 8332 Lincoln Boulevard and open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Always make LAXCC your first stop when you touch down in LA and score like a winner. And don't forget to tell them I sent you and mention you'd like to get high at 9 for 10% off your full order.
The thoughts and opinions in general shade thrown on the High at 9 News for those individual speakers, not those of any other speaker or its followers. Statements made do not constitute legal or accounting advice, and our speakers make no representation regarding the legal status of any substance in any country, area, territory, or its authorities. These expressed in this room do not establish future relationships. Our sponsors do not imply, constitute the endorsement by expressions by any opinion whatsoever of any speaker or anyone on stage. If you're an easily offended person, this show is probably not for you. Also, it's probably time to smoke more weed.
Oh yeah, that's right. October 23rd and 24th, join Bella Flora for their celebrity golf and poker tournament with confirmed attendees like Derek Fisher, formerly of the LA Lakers, celebrity chef Todd English, David Justice of the Atlanta Braves, and Paul Pierce, NBA legends, and many, many more, with a portion of proceeds bringing a nonprofit Freedom Grow Foundation. Join Bella Flora in Temecula Creek, California, October 23rd and 24th. Go to bellaflora.com. or bellafloragolf.com for full sponsorship opportunities.
She's well known in certain DC circles for cooking up excellence and baking delicious treats. But don't let the apron fool you. She's still a feisty redheaded conservative with proven long-form Mayflower roots, a highly questionable love for safe banking, and a spotty memory when it comes to what CRT really means. Come to stage next, the founder of Panoptic Strategies and our very own Washington insider, Gretchen Gailey. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Rico. I think you're confusing me with Jason Beck on the CRT there. My headline is coming from Marijuana Moment. Federal report details who's impacted by Biden's marijuana pardon action state by state. The Federal U.S. Sentencing Commission, the USSC, has released a detailed analysis looking at the impact of President Joe Biden's marijuana pardons, showing the geographic and demographic breakdown of those who are eligible for relief. The president's pardons proclamation covers people who've committed federal cannabis possession offenses, as well as people who violated the law within Washington, D.C. While advocates have generally characterized the action as a symbolic first step, the analysis illustrates the real-life impact for thousands of Americans. Consistent with the estimates highlighted by the White House last week, USSC found that 6,577 U.S. citizens have committed the covered offense. That's based on a review of federal marijuana possession violations from 1992 to 2021. The independent federal organization further identified 1,122 cases involving what it described as resident legal alien offenders. For both of those groups, USSC said that no offenders remain in Federal Bureau of Prisons custody. The analysis also details whether the cannabis offenses were concentrated regionally. Many took place along the southern border in states like Arizona and Texas. About 70% of the relevant offenses were committed in Arizona alone. A demographic breakdown further shows that among those convicted of at least one marijuana offense under the relevant federal code, 41.3% are white, 31.8% are Hispanic, and 23.6% are Black. Non-citizens are excluded from Biden's executive action, a point that advocates have been quick to criticize. The presidential pardon also doesn't affect state-level convictions, though Biden has urged governors to follow the administration's lead with mixed responses. For example, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear said on Thursday that he's actively considering possible marijuana clemency actions the state can take, and he's encouraging people to apply for relief through the state's existing pardon system in the interim. It's also unclear how many D.C.-specific offenses may qualify for pardons, though it's expected to be in the thousands. U.S. Rep. Eleanor Holmes Norton said she appreciates the president's actions, but she's urging him to expand on the reform by letting the district grant clemency on its own. The USSC analysis also shows that there are 415 U.S. citizens whose offense involved multiple controlled substances, at least one of which is marijuana. Another 555 citizens had cases involving other non-simple possession counts, but where the only controlled substance involved in the offense was marijuana. Separate surveys released on Tuesday by USA Today, Ipsos, and Politico Morning Consult show majority support for Biden's pardon action, as well as the president's directive to conduct a review of the federal scheduling of cannabis. Most Americans also want to see their governors follow suit with clemency at the state level, as the president has encouraged. For her part, Vice President Kamala Harris said on Monday that voters should elect lawmakers who support marijuana reform so that Congress can enact a uniform approach to the issue in light of the president's cannabis pardons. Senator Cory Booker, meanwhile, said he appreciates the significant step that the president has taken, but there's more that we can do to address the drug war, and he's very hopeful the additional reform can be enacted before the end of this Congress. While the senator said he does believe legalization could pass, the expectation is that Congress will work to advance a package of incremental marijuana reform proposals that includes banking and research legislation during the lame duck session. Several cabinet-level officials have celebrated Biden's cannabis reform actions, including the heads of the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy and the Department of Labor. I find this analysis a bit surprising, but then I guess it makes sense to me. Frankly, that whites were charged more with simple possession. I could see that African Americans were probably charged a little harsher than whites are getting, and that's why the white percentage is much higher. I am a little surprised by Arizona, and I'm wondering for our Arizona folks out there in the audience or anyone on our panel, if they know, why would Arizona be the state with the most offenses? Is there a wonderful thing I'm missing in Arizona that people are visiting? I don't know.
Probably,
this is Gretchen for High at 9 News.
It's probably the open border, Gretchen.
Stack vapes that you're missing out on.
Yeah, but it's not a federal offense to just be smoking on the side of a
federal land over there, probably in the national park somewhere is what I'm willing to bet. But the one thing that the people that were really left out of this, I want in the pardon, I'm really disappointed in President Biden about this, is all the veterans that were discharged for cannabis use. What's up with that, President Biden? Okay,
that's a great point.
Yes. But nonetheless, we need to hop because we are in what's that?
Oh, and just to say, the Grand Canyon is in Arizona. There are a number of national parks in Arizona. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm willing to bet a number of those arrests happen at those places. Border, and I said national parks too.
Yeah, whatever.
That's what I do.
And don't forget Black people being pushed into plea deals because they don't have the money for the best lawyers.
That part is 100% real too.
Let's keep it right.
But coming up, in an industry full of snakes, fakes, and flakes, in the great red state of Texas, with trolls posting up daily, smoking Delta 8 under the bridge, this fellow dope dad is hitting the high road. That's right. He's the host and co-creator of the new show, Hitting the High Road, and fellow seeker of the truth. That's right. It is none other than the Stone Slade.
Thank you, Jason Beck. Reporting here from the purple state of Texas, where Beto O'Rourke has pulled even almost with Greg Abbott in the gubernatorial race. Anyway, my story today comes from Healthline, kind of piggybacking off of Gretchen. You know, we were all just somewhat surprised when President Biden came out last Friday and made 3 serious-sounding statements about cannabis federally. He got us all caught off guard, granting a pardon to all the people convicted of federal offenses of simple cannabis possession. However, it didn't take long to figure out that for the most part, it was just some good old-fashioned lip service from the 46th president of the United States, considering nobody's sitting in federal jail for simple cannabis possession. Now, of course, he could have done a lot more simply by pardoning all the nonviolent cannabis convictions, including intent to distribute. But hey, at least we're getting some federal movement. And of course, it does come just in time for the November elections. Now, what I'm focusing on today is the third statement that the president made, calling on the Secretary of Health and Human Services and the Attorney General to begin reviewing how cannabis is scheduled under federal law. As we all know, currently cannabis is classified as a Schedule I drug, the same designation given to LSD, heroin, and ecstasy, meaning it's defined as having no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse, which is a little weird considering on one hand, the government classifies it as a Schedule I, while on the other hand, they're actually holding the patent in relation to cannabis and its use for treating certain medical conditions. Go figure. It's also a designation that many cannabis researchers disagree with. The current classification for cannabis as a Schedule I drug doesn't make sense. It does have medicinal properties and a pretty low potential of abuse, said Carrie Cutler, PhD, an assistant professor of psychology at Washington State University and a researcher involved with the university's Center for Cannabis Policy, Research, and Outreach. Now, while Biden and many lawmakers call for more research, Cutler and other researchers say that the Schedule I classification of cannabis limits research and what can be done on its effects, including the effects of high potency products available to adult consumers in many states. To do research that involves administration of cannabis to a human participant, you have to have 3 levels of federal approval. These levels of approval come from the FDA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, and the National Institute of Drug Abuse, or NIDA. In addition, researchers need to obtain approvals from their own institution and state government. This process can add months to the front end of any research study. To have a research study take a year and a half to get off the ground is a major problem because our studies take a year to 3 years to complete, said Cutler. So these approvals are substantially delaying the whole process. Another problem is that any research done on cannabis isn't going to be done with the same quality and potency that's available to the general public. Since 1968, the main supplier of cannabis to U.S. researchers has been the University of Mississippi through a contract with NIDA, and that is some boof weed that's an insult to mids. So in other words, a lot of lip service, a lot of cock blocking on getting any real research done. So what's the solution? Some researchers, oh my God, some researchers think it should be descheduled altogether. Cutler says if nicotine and alcohol are not scheduled, then cannabis has no business being scheduled because those substances are far more harmful than cannabis. In addition, if anyone 21 and older can walk into a dispensary in 19 states and purchase and use these products, then we as scientists should be able to study these products to know what their health effects are on people. However, not all researchers feel the same. Rosalie Lacaro Pacula, I know I've messed that one up, PhD and senior fellow at the USC Leonard D. Schaefer Center for Health Policy and Economics, said, I'm really curious to see if they treat cannabis as a homogeneous product, as if every version of the plant is the same, or if they treat it like opioids, a category of products. Because of their higher potency, these products have a higher risk of side effects such as vomiting. Pacula said that the potential for dependence is also greater with higher concentrated cannabis products. She thinks these distinct risks need to be taken into account. My concern is that federal government will decide to deschedule cannabis entirely, including high THC products. But there's middle ground, she said, that could be very rational, protect health, and be good for medicinal exploration and individual choice. She said one option is to significantly lower the cannabis plant in scheduling or deschedule it entirely. At the same time, certain higher potency cannabis extracts would remain on a schedule, but at a lower schedule than Schedule I. This would allow the industry to sell cannabis products that are descheduled, but higher potency products that remain on the schedule would only be available through a doctor's prescription. I got to say no to that. I don't believe that any part of this plant should remain on the schedule list. It's time to stop this bullshit. As Nicole says, deschedule or bust. I'm Stone Slade reporting for the High at 9 News Hour.
100% deschedule or bust. Any rescheduling will have dire consequences for the industry.
I have a question, and it's funny because I was thinking about it earlier, but then one of the Pop Brothers at law just threw it into the chat. My question is, am I allowed to possess weed in national parks now?
Yeah.
No.
I'm going to say yes.
That's a great
question. Okay, but people... Well, because people got pardoned for possession.
I'm going to say no, you're not.
No.
The law has not changed, but the language of the pardon is extremely broad. Even if you're not prosecuted or charged, you've been pardoned too. But that only applies anytime in the past until the date of that pardon proclamation.
Okay.
It's not.
Okay.
It doesn't go into the future. It's not prospective.
Okay. So damn, I was like, let's go on a fucking national park tour.
It's gonna get blazed as fuck in the California National Park.
I mean, because that's really, we were talking about it. That's really one of the few things that like you could get arrested just for possession. That's like one of the, and like, it happens. People do. It really does happen. I know people who've been arrested in the Sequoia National Park, arrested for a small amount of weed on their person recently within the past 5 years. And so like that is one of the few things that still does happen.
Hey Omar, does it mean? I mean, can you go and fuck with TSA, and just have like the weed bag like up to your head, just like fucking like a box up to your head and shit like that?
If you're a Rastafarian like I am, and like you may be as right to possess our sacrament, and that's protected under the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, which the federal courts recognize when applied to the federal government. So yes.
The highest church. Let's keep it moving, though. Our next correspondent is the multi-talented and multifaceted attorney, founder of a bi-coastal boutique cannabis law firm with offices in California and New York. The NCIA director, legal publisher, author, ganjier, and purple belt in high-style Brazilian jiu-jitsu, reserving his right to legally break your wrist and walk away if you're fucking up the rotation. Coming to the stage next is Omar Figueroa. Happy Friday, brother.
Thank you, Rico. Happy Friday, everyone. My story is from La Prensa Latina. The headline is Medicinal Cannabis Making Headway in Brazil Thanks to Court Rulings. Medical marijuana is gaining steam in Brazil thanks to lower court rulings giving the go-ahead for large-scale cannabis plantations. One of the largest of these plantations, a 148-acre area in Pati do Alferes, a municipality located 2 hours from Rio de Janeiro, produces cannabis-derived oils for more than 3,000 patients with illnesses that include epilepsy, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, and autism. That estate, which produces some 2,000 bottles of cannabis oil per month, is the fruit of a long, complicated effort undertaken by the Medical Cannabis Research and Patient Support Association, an NGO that in February won a court judgment allowing it to grow cannabis. Our work is sub judice, which means pending final judicial resolution. We'll only have definitive legal protection once the case has been decided by the Supreme Court, and that will take time, attorney Margaret Brito, the co-founder, said. Brito and her husband, designer Marcos Langenbach, founded the Medical Cannabis Research and Patient Support Association after discovering that medical marijuana was helping to control their daughter Sophia's epileptic seizures. She had as many as 60 seizures in a month. With cannabis, we were able to reduce them to 15, she said. That experience led her to launch a legal battle for the right to grow cannabis legally, although she said resistance in Brazil to any kind of marijuana legalization has made it enormously difficult to achieve their goal. Another possible solution is to go the legislative route. In that regard, the future of a medical marijuana bill now stalled in Congress may depend on who wins Brazil's October 30th presidential runoff. Rightist President Jair Bolsonaro, who is facing off against left-wing challenger and former head of state Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, opposes drug legalization, even for medicinal purposes, and has vowed to veto the bill if it reaches his desk. Even so, Brazilian authorities included marijuana on their list of medicinal plants in 2017, and since then have authorized the use of cannabis-derived medicines. That authorization cleared the way for the use of imported cannabis in Brazil, although growing the plant domestically remains formally illegal. Import costs, however, mean elevated prices for patients, since 1 month of treatment can run as high as 3,000 reais, about $580. This is the second organization to obtain court permission for growing medicinal cannabis in Brazil after another NGO, although numerous small private cooperatives also have won the right to grow the plant. The organization charges patients a subscription of 30 reais per month, plus the cost of the cannabis oil, which varies depending on each individual's particular treatment. Brito says her association only distributes products that have been medically prescribed and takes great care to avoid any potential legal problems. The attorney said Brazil always has viewed marijuana as a drug of death, as if it were a demon, like a terrible thing, adding that her association's first job is to correct those misconceptions. Cannabis is like any other medication. It will work very well with some patients. It will produce small miracles in others, and in others, it could potentially cause harm, she said. My take is never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. It happened in California, and it's happening in Brazil. When medical cannabis patients and caregivers organize for the right to cultivate, society will change for the better. And after hearing that candidate Jair Bolsonaro has promised to veto any medical cannabis reform that comes across his desk, we know what side of history this wannabe dictator is on. On the bright side, I look forward to traveling to Brazil in the future when cannabis is increasingly legalized, and hope to train Brazilian jiu-jitsu with high-rolling maconeiros. This is Omar Figueroa, lawyer, publisher, and ganjier instructor, reporting from Sonoma County, the traditional territory of the Pomo, Miwok, and Wapo nations, for High at 9, high noon Eastern.
Shout out to Brazil. Brazil.
Yeah, Brazil gonna be turned up over there.
Giselle Bunchen is headed back to her homeland. That Tom Brady wants to stick to them footballs.
Oh my God.
Oh,
I didn't understand where that was going for a second.
Uh-huh.
Damn, fucking celebrity gossip, Rico, for the fucking drop.
Yeah, that was great.
Omar, I just absolutely love listening to you tell any story. You're an epic storyteller, and I hope that places like Brazil get the access to cannabis the way that they should. I hope the fucking world gets it, and it's not surprising though when
Brazil
you look
is amazing. I love Brazil. I went there for a weekend, and I ended up staying there for a full month.
Did you get a BBL?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Popping down there. It was before BBLs, bro. I was up in the
BBLs
favela, bro. Shit was fucking
He's got his own
popping over
BBL.
there. Yeah. Oh yeah. All right.
I don't think he knows what a BBL is.
Wait, hold on, Jason. Okay, do you know what a BBL stands for?
Yeah, big booty lift or big butt lift.
No, it's
or
a
something
Brazilian.
like that. Brazilian butt lift. There we go.
Brazilian
butt
blow.
lift.
It's a Brazilian blowout.
No, it's BBL.
It's a
Brazilian
Oh,
butt
sorry,
lift.
a Brazilian butt lift. Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
It's what brought.
See?
It's what
Come
brought
on
white
now.
women into the future.
It's what made them all look like teeth.
Yes.
They look like a molar. Everyone, you look like a molar.
Have you ever seen that one?
Yeah, like real big at the top and like skinny little roots at the bottom. Everyone looks like a molar.
Have you seen that? That there's this one doctor that does BBLs from Mexico that's like super famous and is always posting his clients on. Oh man, his Instagram is popping.
Yeah,
you guys gotta check that guy out. I don't even know what it is, but nonetheless, we gotta.
Do like Brazilian dudes get BDLs?
They get calf implants.
Oh, like me.
Yeah. They calf-size each other. Yeah.
You know what you call small calves?
No jumping ability.
Baby cows.
Did you smoke weed when you were in Brazil,
Yes.
Jason?
Yes, I did.
Was it good?
All right, so I brought my own weed.
Don't
first
tell
of
me
all,
that.
and then
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
And then,
anyways, did you smoke any Brazilian weed? I did.
I went and bought some weed.
Guy.
Yeah, in Brazil. Yeah, I bought a bunch of weed in Brazil.
And how was it? I don't
it was,
stop.
It was hay.
Just answer my
hay.
question.
It was terrible.
Okay, all right.
Boof.
We're moving on. That's all I needed to know.
All right. This doctor has been around so long that he probably wrote your parents' medical cannabis recommendation. This doctor has had more patients than liberals waiting in line at a President Biden book signing. The founder of Medican and co-founder of CESC, the nonprofit cannabis research organization. It is none other than the Dr. Gene Talleyrand.
Thanks, Jason. Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My story today is from Voltface, a London-based publication. The headline is, "What Does the Cost of Living Crisis Mean for the Medical Cannabis Industry?" by Megan Townsend. The financial crisis is everywhere. The post-pandemic world, coupled with the war in Ukraine, has risen cost of living. Inflation impacts individuals and businesses, and the medical cannabis industry, it appears, is not exempt. Recently, Grow Pharma, one of the UK's biggest cannabis companies, had to increase their cost of flour by 50 pence per gram. That's about 56 cents in US currency. In an interview with Cannabis Health News, Grow Pharma's CEO, Pierre Van Werperen, said, "We are truly sorry about having to do this. As you can imagine, growing cannabis indoor requires significant amounts of energy, and our energy bills have gone through the roof. On top of that, transportation costs have escalated, and the exchange rate versus the euro adds another 5% to the increase. Meanwhile, demand is inelastic, given how essential it is for patients to access cannabis." Zach Thompson, chair of the patient-led engagement for access, remarks, "They're angry, they're upset, because now they're wondering, how am I going to afford not only the rest of my bills, but also my medication?" The cannabis industry in the UK must also compete with the illicit market, the freest and most adaptable marketplace in the world. Doing things above board presents the regulated industry with several hurdles, which are ultimately designed to provide patients with a better experience. However, this complexity is not shared in the illicit market, making it difficult for the regulated industry to compete and potentially turning patients to illicit dealers. Companies attempting to communicate the price increase to patients are also being met with regulatory barriers. Van Werperen adds, "We cannot send messages announcing anything, since it would be seen as promotion of medicines to the public, which has severe penalties for us." Meanwhile, illegal businesses like Dispensaroo have put up to 2,500 advertisements on London Underground trains saying, "Do you love," and then they have a picture of a leaf, "use code TUBE for £5 off." According to the article, the founder of Dispensaroo states that the business is booming, making about £50,000 per week. By setting up its servers and websites in territory outside of the UK, the business has so far been able to evade contact from the police. Zach Thompson highlights that the price increase is more symptomatic of a disconnect between the companies and their patients. "I don't think they're really doing enough," he says. "There needs to be compassionate access, and either you give the product away for free or you give the product at cost. So if products are at cost, they're not losing any money. They're not making any money either, but they're not losing money." It seems we are all going through this. A couple of days ago, I was at a meeting at the SF chapter, San Francisco chapter, of the Brownie Mary Democrats, where we were having a similar discussion. Some dispensary owners voiced concern about the economy, taxes, and the illicit market impeding their growth. However, not all dispensary owners at the meeting were concerned. Some seemed to accept that owning a business in the cannabis industry was difficult, and they were willing to undertake the challenge, as it was better than going to jail. What do you think? Should the regulated cannabis industry reduce its prices to deal with this cost of living increase? This is Dr. Jean Talleyrand reporting from High at 9 News.
There's no more margins left, Dr. Talleyrand, to reduce the price.
I think the MSOs and the large operators, they definitely should, because they're the only ones that are going to survive this shit anyways. They're the only ones to be around at the end of this shit after everybody else lost all their money.
I mean, everything is more expensive right now. Like it's not unique to this. Food is more expensive. Like we drastically, I'm not trying to be an asshole, but like we need food more than we need weed, right? Like if we had to pick one thing that you could do for the rest of your life, you'd have to pick food.
Even though you can
Rico,
eat
don't
weed.
make that.
Even though you can eat weed.
I mean, Adderall and weed. Adderall for energy, weed for the lows.
I'm having a real medical conversation about like if you had to pick one, you would pick food, right? Food's more expensive now. Like so, like the idea of saying, oh, cannabis needs to be cheaper, like food needs to be cheaper. We should be subsidizing food if we're having that conversation and helping people get more access to food.
Or minimum wage should have caught up with inflation. We wouldn't be in this fucking problem in the first place.
Or everyone should have gotten
minimum
a
wage
PPE
can't
loan.
keep up with inflation at the rate the U.S. government spends our money.
But we're talking about the UK.
I say grow your own food, grow your own weed, and share it with your neighbor.
Yeah, I know, but how do you do that, Dr. Talleyrand, in an urban environment?
I would say it would be nice if, some other folks could step up instead of the cannabis industry. It would be nice if the insurance industry would step up
Exactly.
and allow your medicine to actually be covered by your insurance. That's one way to help patients. And since, Biden is now becoming the cannabis president, I'm sure he would love to offer.
Holy shit. Hey, holy shit. I just connected that dot, Gretchen. Thanks to you, Gretchen. I just connected that dot. If hyperinflation keeps up the way it is, it makes a case for Biden to reschedule and let everybody use their fucking copays to secure affordable weed. Mind blown.
Oh man.
Oh God, that's a big.
Thank you
You sound like
guys.
Alex Jones, my friend.
We're at 10 a.m. Thank
Alex
you all
groans.
for tuning in. This has been a fucking really good week. Thank you, everyone. Oh, and you know what? If you are in the Long Beach area tomorrow, there's a party on Pine in front of Catalyst and Anna's. Please come check them out. You'll see me. You'll see Jason. Maybe we can get Rico down there if you can hobble around. We're not sure.
The best weed in the world.
We'll be smoking the best weed in the world.
I might have that scooter. That
oh, dude, get the scoot. Come on down.
Get the
Come
scooter,
on down
bro.
On that
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for tuning
chrome.
in. What?
10-inch chrome.
He's got rims on his shit.
All right.
Yeah,
So,
it's like the hubcap spinners you get at Craig and Auto Parts.
well, thank you all for getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in, and to all of our listeners for being so fun in our chat. Thank you to the haters for still talking about us. Huge thank you to True Classic, Bellaflor Golf Tournament, and LAXCC for helping us keep the lights on. Thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing, and to Cannabis for giving us a reason to do this, and to 3 is 4 for helping us sound like we actually know what the fuck that we're doing. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us.
Pew, 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 pew. Great week.
You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nicole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.